Louisiana Creoles have never been Black Americans. That doesn't even make any sense because Louisiana belonged to the French. An American is a descendant of an Anglo-Saxon. The French and the Anglo-Saxons are two completely different groups of people. The only thing that changed when Louisiana was sold to the United States was the hands who owned it. The culture, that Creole culture, was still here and is still here. So just because you bought somebody's land doesn't give you the right or doesn't mean that you can change the identity of the people that was on that land before you bought it. And then after Louisiana was sold to the United States, they brought all that bullshit skin color as identity down here with the Jim Crow era, forcing people with brown skin to identify as Black. And then in the 1990s, Reverend Jesse Jackson forced us to identify as African American. But that is not who Louisiana Creoles are, and we've always been Louisiana Creoles. And just because y'all don't know us or know anything about us doesn't make us non-existent, doesn't make us less Creole. And just because y'all don't understand how I can have brown skin and not be Black or African American doesn't make me Black or African American. I'm a Louisiana Creole. And if you're interested in understanding what that means, there's plenty of research, plenty of information. And if you're genuinely interested in understanding what that means, there's plenty of information for you to research. There's plenty of books about Louisiana history and who Creoles are. What amazes me is that y'all are attacking me in my comment section because I don't identify as an enslaved African. I am not an enslaved African. I'm a Louisiana Creole. It's really not that. It's 2024. Come on now. What the fuck?
Hey, it's the Political Brown Kid here, and as you can see, I got another one for you. It's it's almost laughable, but it's really not laughable. This isn't funny. I wasn't even planning on doing this video, but again, I couldn't stay off social media because I think now I'm developing an addiction to social media. And that's very unfortunate. I've never been on social media platforms at all, but that's the first thing I did when I woke up this morning, checked social media, and this is what was up there. Now, I just did a video. If y'all been paying attention to my channel, which a lot of people aren't anymore, my channel has really fallen off, but I'm hoping that all I'm trying to do is spread awareness to my people particularly, because we are really hitting a critical point within the Black community where there's going to be no more Black community in about, I would probably say maybe 50 years. And that's probably just a estimate, rough approximate, but the Black community is going down. And that's a longer, deeper conversation. If you all want me to have that, I definitely will. Just drop me a comment and say, comment on that and I'll expound on it. But this video, as you all know, well, let me just back up. I just did a video talking about the Black community is on the verge of civil war. And I've been talking about this since I started my channel. We're looking at the next Rwanda genocide in America. It's going to be light-skinned Blacks versus dark-skinned Blacks. The foundational Black Americans against everyone else. It may not hit the totals, the death totals that you saw in Rwanda, but it's going to get ugly. And it's because of things like this. You have a lot of Black people, and this particularly it's Black women. And I'm not trying to beat up on Black women. So Black women, I want y'all to hear me out. The reason why I'm saying it's Black women, and I think that some of this has been, reflected due to, like, you have idiots. Y'all know I don't like Jay-Z. I've never liked Lil Wayne. I don't like any of those rappers. But they have been the ones promoting colorism for a long time. If you listen to their music, and even if you watch the patterns and what they do, Dame Dash, he's a colorist too. Look at all of Dame Dash's females that he deals with. Look at Nick Cannon and all of the females that he deals with. These are individuals, they claim that they are so Black. And Nick Cannon really is the more pathetic one, I do believe, because the one thing I can say about Jay-Z and Dame Dash and Lil Wayne is they've never pretended to be smart. They've never pretended to have any intelligence whatsoever. They've been who they are. Self-proclaimed happy drug dealers. That's what they promoted themselves on. That's how they made their money. I'm a drug dealer. I make illegal money. I do illegal things, and I ruin Black communities. And that's how they made their money. Nick Cannon, on the other hand, He has his own podcast. He wants to wear these dashikis or little haji hats, the little thing that Andre 3000 used to wear, and the thing that the guy wore in Annie, the black guy wore in Annie. And he wants to start spouting off stuff about Hebrew Israelites. And then as soon as he got in trouble with the Jews and with the white population on the Hebrew Israelites, then he backed off of that. So you can't be scared. If you're going to be scared, if you got to stand on principle. If you're a man, you're going to stand on your principles, and you're not going to let somebody else dissuade. Even Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's a sucker too. Kyrie Irving and Nick Cannon are suckers. Because as soon as you compromise your belief, just because the rest of the world doesn't like what you said, they don't like the quote unquote truth, then that's on them. But I'm digressing. But Nick Cannon claims to be all this pro-black Israelite, all of this stuff. And all his baby mamas just about, I don't know all of them, but the ones I've seen, they are light brights. If not white, I don't know. Because I don't know all of them, but they are very much a mixed bag. And I do mean mixed. But so I understand why, and that's the reason why women, I'm bringing it full circle. That's the reason why women, I think that women have been affected more, because women are judged on their appearances. And for quite some time in our culture, what women see are brothers, particularly brothers that are successful or appear to be successful, because not everyone on TV is financially well off and financially there. They may be successful in their careers, but they could be broke, right? We find out a lot of entertainers are just broke. But women see on television, they see the athletes, the entertainers, the entrepreneurs, the media moguls, and things of that nature. All of those men are either dating to non-black women, or they're with light brights, right? They're with women that pass the brown paper bag and or comb test. And so that's why I think a lot of women it affects y'all more. So that's why I made the comment, women. So I'm providing that background, because I think that that's why you see a lot of women, kind of saying, I'm not black. And that's why you see in this video. As people, if you're also familiar with my channel too, you know that I have covered a lot of different topics. Even before I started my channel, I've always been pro-black, always been a researcher. That's what I do. I research things. I've written several books. Now, mind you, they're not published by some big publishing house. I couldn't get publishing, so I published them myself. These were topics that I was interested in. I wrote a book on, just black, several books on black experience. Even when I started this website not this website, but started this channel to kind of point out, certain things that were going on. Like y'all know, I pointed out things that were going on with ghetto gaggers and black women participating in that when I became aware of it. Because trust me, I do not like that content. I like adult content. I will admit, I think most adults watch adult content, but I do not watch that type of trash. But in order to do the truth and bring the truth to individuals, I had to listen and watch some of that content. And also I did studies on the adult industry, whether that was OnlyFans, whether that's women selling themselves and so forth. So I've covered that, and I published books. I published two books. One was nonfiction, one was fiction, on both of those topics. And the one thing that I can say, and I even did a video on my channel. I think the girl's name was Jamie something. Her name was Jamie. She appeared on Ghetto Gaggers. And she made a statement. She was like, yeah, I'm not black. And she's sitting up there, even though she's light-skinned, the blackest thing in the room. And you can look at her and tell she's black. When I was doing my research on just like the OnlyFans and the adult, pay-for-play industry, or whatever you want to call it, the one thing that I noticed is a lot of women identify as mixed. And I don't know why that is, particularly. I only made assumptions. I made an assumption in my book, because I pointed that out in my book, that I think it's due to attracting a bigger market to make themselves more marketable, because maybe possibly being a black female, which I thought black females would have been very popular in the adult business, because it seems like white men just have a black female fetish. But it seems like a lot of women are marketing themselves as mixed. And I do believe that's because black women are feeling as though they have to appear more exotic. And that's what's going on when you watch videos like this. You have a lot of black people, and even let me back this up and say this before I go on to say something else, is that Dr. Umar Johnson even pointed out too that the number of black Americans fell. I do believe it was Dr. Umar Johnson. So let me just put that out there because I don't want to throw that on this man, but I do believe it was him, pointed out that the number of black Americans or black people, period, fell between I forget what census that he was looking at. If you look at when they do this, the census, the national census, the number of blacks identifying as black fell. And that's because white people have encouraged black people to not identify as black. They're encouraging all people that look like Zendaya, that look like Halle Berry. They want, because Paul, like I keep telling y'all, Paul Mooney told y'all that white people will take y'all. He will steal y'all. If white people love you enough, they'll take you. He said they took James Brown but gave him back. And white people definitely will do that. And white people have come to say, we want the light-skinned blacks. We want them. Because I told y'all before in my in another podcast, you go check my channel, white people are trying to get, they were at one point in time trying to get Asians, and that includes Indians, who we know are black as hell. They were trying to get Chinese, Japanese, all of the Asian continent classified as being Caucasian. If they classified the Middle Eastern people, go watch the documentary on Donovan McNabb. It's on Netflix. They showed a girl that Donovan McNabb was sleeping with. She was a Middle Eastern woman. But when you looked on one of the screens in one of the frames in that Netflix documentary, apparently they show her driver's license and it shows her being marked down as white. And she's Middle Eastern, and you can look at her. So they're identifying all Egyptians because, once again, we all know, and I'm going to do a whole video on that whole Egypt and how they're silencing black people to silence the truth. But they're classifying Egypt, which is in Africa, so Egypt in the Middle East, as being white. When Stacey Dash got arrested, this was years ago. I don't even know what year it was, but you can look it up. When Stacey Dash got arrested, and I think it was in California that she got arrested, don't hold me to that. When she got arrested, they classified her as white on the thing. Now, they didn't ask her for her input. They just made the assumption and they marked it down as white. Now, when you watch white people, if they even see a person that is light-skinned, they can even just see a light-skinned person, and they just automatically assume that that light-skinned person has some type of mixture with them. They always do. I have a buddy, I'm telling you, I have a buddy, he has literally blonde hair, blue eyes. His hair, he has, it's coarse hair, but it's not as coarse as, it's a little bit, he got some little curls in there, but it's not Al B. Shore type curls. It's kind of like a little mixture. His is a little bit thicker, but he has blonde hair, blue eyes. I know both of his parents. His mother has, I think, like greenish eyes. She's fair skinned. His father's brown, but his father has like light brown eyes, I do believe. So he just came out the way he came out. And when you look at his relatives, like, I think you probably have to go back to a great grandparent. Because like I said, I know both his mother and I know his mother's mother. Because that's where he spent, because he technically claims his grandmother's address. That's how I know him. But I find out that he actually lives someplace else. But he spends most of his time at his grandmother's house, and we grew up together. But white people look at him and they automatically assume because he has blue eyes and blonde hair that he's mixed. Now you have all of this Creole girl right here wanting to say, and this is also the other thing too, there's never been a such thing as a race of Latinos, never been such thing as a race of Jamaicans. Like, I keep hearing people say stupid stuff. Kamala Harris isn't black, her mother's Indian. Okay, and if you looked at her mother is a dark Indian. There's no such thing. I'm telling y'all don't understand that people from Asia, some of those people have Nubian descent. The Filipinos, Some of the Indians, and you can look at her mother and tell that's why her mother identified and gravitated towards black culture. I don't make this stuff up. But people keep saying her mother's Indian and her father's Jamaican. That doesn't even make sense. There's never been a such thing as a race of Jamaicans. That's his nationality. But once again, we black people always want to, we have gotten to the point now where we're just kicking black people out of our race because they passed the brown paper bag and comb test. And we're willingly rejecting our own people, i.e. rejecting allies, people that could be allies to us, and sending them over to the other side. And then you get women like this, and not even just women, but men too, that don't want to be classified as black. When this whole DNA thing popped off, this is early 2000s. I don't even know what part of 2000 it was. It could have been 2003. It could have been 2010. I don't know. But go look this up and see if this will still come up in a Google search. That's when black people started defecting from the black race in the younger generation. That's when mixed people stopped identifying as being black and started calling themselves mixed. That's when Bow Wow came out. Go look this up. Bow Wow came out and said, "I'm not black." Go look up. He started mentioning his surnames and saying, "Go look at the surnames, whatever his people's names were. I don't know what their last names are." But he was like, "Go look at us. We're not black." And I'm looking at that. He's made his living acting black, being black, hanging out in black spaces. And now all of a sudden he doesn't want to be black. And he thinks just because he has a lighter hue and some light eyes that he's not black. Keisha Cole said the same thing. And then I think both of these two individuals got in trouble when they posted something. They might have posted something on then Twitter, now called X. I think they made the post there, and then people ate them up on those two platforms, and then they went radio silent or they backed down from their claim. But the point that I'm making is this. You have a lot of black people that just don't want to be black. You got a whole island of Puerto Ricans that don't identify as black. And they keep telling their children, lighten the race, better the race, meaning don't date someone black, you date lighter, blanqueamiento. You got the Dominicans down in Dominican Republic. They do the same thing. They tell each other to lighten the race. They don't identify as being black. They identify as being Dominican. There's no such thing as a race of Dominicans. There's no such thing as a race of Puerto Ricans. And now you have black people in America saying, "I'm Creole." And I'm telling you too, then you have these black kids that may have a white mama or daddy. They coming up talking about, "I'm not black, I'm mixed." And the reason, their sole justification that they're going to come up with is because I don't want to hurt my white parents' feeling. Once again, I keep telling y'all, I don't know why black people care so much about white people's feelings. White people don't look out for you. Black people are always looking out for everyone else. But Martin Luther King has a march on Washington for black civil rights. And then all of a sudden he has to dirty up. And like I told y'all, Martin Luther King was probably the most ineffective black leader y'all have ever had. He set y'all back 1,000 years. That's why we're at the point we're at now. He was supposed to have a march on Washington for black issues and then allowed the feminists to come in, the cripples to come in, the Hispanics, it just became a movement, a march on Washington. And so you're like, well, what's the march on? Well, it's about just people being mistreated. If you're not white or if you're crippled, then we're doing bad. And that's what the march became about. Black people always go look at the Congressional Black Caucus or the NAACP's website, and it says who we fight for. It says they fight for everyone. They got black people, Asians, Indians, cripples, dyslexic people, blind people. They have everyone on that list. Go to the Asian American and Asian American and Pacific Islanders website. See who they fight for. They just say we fight for Asians, for people in the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. That's who they fight for. Latinos website says the same thing. These people look out for their own. I'm pretty sure if you go to the LGBTQ website, they say the same thing. We look out for our own, but black people always feel compelled to look out for everyone else's problem. That's why you don't get your own problem solved. And now you have these black people right here that, once again, you have foundational black Americans. I've never heard that term foundational black Americans until about 2 months ago. I kid you not. Once again, like I said, I wasn't on the internet like that, and I think that now since I've gotten nothing to do with my time for the most part, like I told you, I think I'm developing a reliance on social media for social interaction. But when you go, I just heard that term, foundational black Americans, FBA. That's all I've been hearing. And I had to look it up and do research and found out what it was. So now you're going to have the foundational black Americans. And then within the foundational black Americans, you have colorism going on. You have light-skinned blacks with good hair versus the brown-skinned blacks with bad hair. And I'm using those terms, good hair and bad hair. I'm being strategic when I use those because I know those are going to be trigger words for y'all, but it's true because we always tell people he got good hair or she got good hair and all this other stuff. But you've got those splintered groups within that category. Now you have the mixed blacks that don't classify themselves as black. They stay out of black issues altogether because you've never seen Zendaya. You've never seen Shamar Moore. You've never seen any of those mixed individuals in the trenches talking about black issues, dating black people. Zendaya has a white man. Shamar Moore just had a baby with a white woman. You don't see these people latching on to black communities. And back in the day, like I keep telling y'all, that was never the case. All of those people identified as black. They were immersed in the black culture and they tried to have black spouses or black partners. I don't make this up, but now today that doesn't happen. So now you have the foundational black Americans, you have the mixed blacks, and then now you have the foundational black Americans, the immigrants from Haiti, Dominican, Puerto Rico, from Jamaica, from wherever, and they come here and they look at blacks that are foundational blacks and they say, y'all don't deserve anything because they can't relate to being here. They have no ties to the American continent. So they just come here and they just start spouting stuff that is kind of ignorant, talking about what we do and what we don't deserve. And you can see that from both Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, because both of those individuals are not foundational black Americans. So they can't identify with you asking for reparations. They just can't, because they don't understand what you're trying to fight for here. They're just looking at it and saying, well, not Barack and Kamala, because they've kind of been here, but the blacks that have kind of migrated here, they're like, y'all got it good here. Even the Africans that are coming over, they're wondering what we're complaining about. Why y'all trying to reach back 400 years? Y'all got it so great here. We're just trying to get what was paid and what was promised to our ancestors. So you have all of this splintering going on within the black community. And in addition to that, on top of it, black women hating black men and saying that they're divesting, black men hating black women and saying that they're divesting. It is a total mess in the black community. So we need to figure out how to get this fixed. And the first way that you're going to have to start is to everyone to get on the same page. We can't continue to have these groups where everyone, including myself, because I do my content on my site, but at some point in time, everyone just has to get together and say, look, what we're going to do is we're going to rally around each other. We're not going to be splintered anymore, and we need to come with a cohesive message. We all need to be on the same page. That's where it starts. We have to work out our problems because this is not getting better, because with every generation that goes on, I'm telling y'all, these light-skinned, quote-unquote, mixed blacks, they're marrying outside of the race because they're passing as a non-black. And they're not even identifying with us. So their offspring is going to be whiter and whiter, if not white. Right? And then you're going to have those black individuals that are black. And even if they were foundational black Americans, if they start seeing that their children, that their daughters and sons are marrying Asian men or white men, then what they're going to do is they're going to sympathize. And as soon as someone starts talking bad against interracial marriage or against that type of stuff, they're going to get defensive because they're trying to protect their children and or their grandchild that has come out mixed, quote unquote mixed, right? So then you're going to have those groups. You see it now with gay people. I've known so many people they've taken a particular stance, whether they used to be in the church, whether it's because of their church morals or what have you. They had a particular stance against homosexuality. Not to say that they hated homosexuals, so let's just make that clear. They were not homophobic. They were just kind of like, I don't believe that it's right. I don't believe that it's, a natural thing to do. But they were like, but to each his own. But then as soon as they find out that they have a gay child or a gay grandchild, now all of a sudden I'm seeing people riding around, those same people, and this is no joke, those same people have gay pride bumper stickers on their cars because they're trying to support their children. So what do you think is going to happen when you have foundational Black Americans that are so-called trying to fight for the cause, and then your kids start marrying out? Now you're going to have to start defending interracial marriage. You're going to have to start defending non-Black issues because now you are tied to that community and you feel as though you got to protect your offspring. This stuff is very deep, y'all. I'm telling you, we are at a critical point. And I just want us to bring awareness to it. And obviously, I'm not a leader of anything because you can look at the numbers on my channel. So people aren't even really listening. But hopefully someone else can take up this fight that has a little bit more power and a little bit more voice to bring awareness to the trouble that's brewing within the Black community, because we definitely have a splintered civil war going on here. And who sides with whom, that's going to be something else interesting because, like I said, you have so many different groups. You have Black men against Black women. You have foundational Black Americans against non-foundational Black Americans. You have the dark-skinned Blacks against the light-skinned Blacks. You have a lot. You have mixed peoples claiming that they're not Black, like this woman right here, who I'm looking at a whole Negro on my in this video, and swears up and down she's not Black. It is just a mess in the Black community. So I'm going to leave it here. Please drop a comment in the comment section. Also hit the like and subscribe button. Once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. I'm out.